For our special coverage of the Russia election and a Gravitas special coming up this Sunday as well. Ahead on this show, though, the Global Happiness Index. Finland is on top. India is at number 133. What's making Indians unhappy and how do you measure happiness? We'll get you an interview. Also, a visit to space will change you forever. You'll come back with altered genes, mutated DNA. That's right, we'll explain later. The Indian Defence Forces are short of 50,000 men. A parliamentary panel has now come up with an interesting prescription to address this. And that is compulsory military service for all those who want a government job. The report says they should serve in the military at least for 5 years first. The debate has just begun. Here's more.
Imagine India's million-man army swollen by 22 million school leavers every year. It would be a huge army and therefore a huge deterrent for potential enemies. But can the army or the nation afford it? And what quality of army would it be? Would these conscripts be motivated enough if the nation demanded the ultimate sacrifice? These and so many other questions need to be answered given the recommendations of a parliamentary panel that says 5 years of compulsory military service should be necessary for those seeking government jobs. But why only government jobs? Why not make military service compulsory for those seeking election to public office? How many children of our netas serve in the armed forces? The same argument can be extended to communities and castes that remain underrepresented in both the armed forces and the government for whatever reason. But conscription may not be an acceptable option in India for very valid reasons. 4 years ago, Arun Jaitley, then Defence Minister, made a reference to compulsory military training, not service, when he said the government was not in favour of it. He was responding to proposals by a number of MPs and private member bills. In his view, it would violate India's democratic ethos where people are free to choose what they want to do. Compulsory military training could militarize India's society, exacerbating divisions. The armed forces have enough volunteers. The problem is the right quality. There would be huge expense in raising and sustaining the infrastructure for training an estimated 22 million school leavers every year. Such expenditure would probably have to come out of the defence budget, which is already strained by the outgo on pensions, pay and allowances, leaving less money for spending on buying weapons and equipment. Let's look at the 5 years of military service suggested by the parliamentary panel. The question which comes to mind is how much study the panel made of military practices in other countries. All over the world, the practice of having conscripts in the armed forces is being given up. Conscripts are seen as less motivated. They are often of lower physical and mental standard than what the army wants. They tend to see their service period as something to be got over at the earliest. Result, they are not inclined to learn and do only the minimum required. This is something the Russian generals realized after the Afghan war. It was brought home to them again during the first Chechen war, when the Russian military was forced to withdraw from Chechnya by bands of highly motivated Chechen fighters. Resurgence was seen thereafter during the war in Georgia in 2008 and more recently in the capture of Crimea and the highly imaginative use of air power and special forces in Syria. They are moving away from conscription to an all-volunteer force. Israel's is a different case since it's a small country surrounded by hostile neighbors. It requires every man and woman attaining 18 years to serve in the military, men for 3 years, women for about half of that. But Israel is a nation whose very survival is under threat. They need compulsory military service. India is fortunate it is not in that position. But there's something to be said in favor of military training, instilling discipline, bringing greater integration and embedding a sense of service among people. Perhaps a case can be made for expanding the National Cadet Corps where some military training is given, but along with other activities including adventure sports. The idea is to turn out disciplined, motivated people who will be assets to the nation. Bureau Report, WION.